Let's talk about the Trump tariffs again. So, over the weekend, they said that they was gonna give an exemption for smartphones and computer chips, and that was very welcomed by the technology sector. They said 90 days. Um, and then
Reverse
yesterday,
Uno.
they came out and said that it'll be a special tariff for semiconductors. That this is only temporary, pretty much dampered the whole party. Um,
Yeah.
so the market, as a result, it wasn't as bullish today as
Bullish.
people thought it might have been if
Mhm.
they didn't make that announcement. So, okay, for the investors that's wondering, how come they didn't wait to make this announcement, or how come they didn't make the first announcement on Monday and at least give people an opportunity to exit some positions and then maybe rain on the parade on Wednesday?
I mean, he's given all of his friends allegedly inside indicators of what to buy. Shout out to all the Congress people and politicians who bought calls on Apple and Nvidia as a result.
Friday
Just a
afternoon at 3:50.
better question for you, since you go run for office in the next one. Why do you think he keeps changing course so quickly? Like I had to go to ChatGPT, Claude. I went on Manus. Like, what's the reason behind all of this chaos? And
I
I'm not
think
piling on Trump this episode, but I
no,
don't understand why you put out positive news and then the next day damper it.
yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think anybody really knows. I think it's a very erratic behavior,
Yeah,
and it's frustrating to like market insiders and hedge fund managers and stuff like that, because it's like, Dan Ives was extremely happy when they had that announcement. Then he said it's like playing golf and they moving the tee in the
for
ninth
sure.
or the 18th green. So it's just it's very complicated and it's difficult because it's like, we don't know. But we spoke to an executive at a car company during All-Star Week, and this is before the tariffs thing came out, and he said that it's extremely difficult to do business because we don't know the rules. So
Yeah,
you can once you know the rules and you can play the game.
Mhm.
But when the rules keep changing, that becomes extremely difficult to play the game. So, when you say that there's a pause on tariffs for electronics, smartphones, and chips, then that's encouraging news for technology. But then when you come out 2 days later and say that there's going to be a special tariff just for chips, well, that's discouraging news. So within a
yeah,
48-hour cycle, it's going in so many different directions, and it's up down. That's why it's a very choppy, very very choppy market right now. That's why a lot of people just wait on the sidelines because they don't know exactly what to expect. And we all know that the stock market's going to recover over the course of time, but
for
I mean,
sure.
if we do go into a recession, then you could see another 20% dip in the market. So it's very erratic behavior. I think that he's trying to figure it out on the fly, because especially we haven't talked about the 10-year treasury, but that's something that
Yeah,
was extremely alarming to them. That's what they said. Like, that actually made him change his mind more than anything.
Mhm.
Not really the stock market, but the treasury. And when people stop believing in America and stop,
yeah,
holding American bonds, Japan, um, that's concerning.
Yeah.
That's concerning for sure. So I think he's trying to balance so much. You see the dollar drop to its lowest level since 2022. I think people are dumping treasury bonds. The stock market is crashing. Then you got world leaders calling you, I'm sure, left and right. So imagine just being in a room with 10,000 things happening
Mhm.
simultaneously. And it's just like, okay, damn, I got to do this. Okay, let's reverse course. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do that. And it's not like something that I think is already thought out. I think it's in
yep.
game. I think
Yeah.
he's doing the Peyton Manning like Omaha. He's calling audibles on the fly.
Yeah. I think this is the epitome of building a plane while flying it. Right.
For
Like
sure.
we're not sure what we're doing, but we're going to try to piece this together as we go. We're going to make an announcement and then we'll try to figure it out after we do it. It's like like last week when it was, well, the 3rd of April when the tariffs were going into effect, and then we saw how the market reacted to it, and then there was a leak that the tariffs were suspended last Monday.
Yeah,
And it was a leak. That's not true. And then by Wednesday, it actually was true, right? And then Saturday, it's hey, we're gonna suspend tariffs on semiconductors, computers, and technology. Pretty much technology stocks were hopeful, like this is great, and then by Sunday that changes, and who knows what happens tomorrow, right? We really don't have a clue of what's happening. From a business standpoint, it's tough because number one, you don't know how much you're going to pay, and then you don't know how much you're going to make, and so you don't really know what to tell your shareholders, and you don't know what your revenue is going to be, right? And so the thing that doesn't change for you is the debt.
For sure.
Right. That's the thing that you know for sure is going to happen, right? If you're having CapEx expenditures and there's debt that's accumulating, that's not going anywhere. How much you're bringing in, how much you're going to pay for that, that is uncertain. So, I mean, the uncertainty in itself is extreme. The recession piece, it almost feels like we were headed for a soft landing. I know, but it was like never going to be a soft landing, but we were headed there. We were headed there, and now we got the self-inflicted wound. And now it almost feels like recession might be the safest thing. If you hear what Ray Dalio saying, the 2 negative quarters by definition, that might be the safest play because we've seen that before, and we've seen how we've recovered from that before. It could be short, maybe it's extended, but we've seen that before. He's saying that potentially there's something worse ahead, which is a new economic world order, which is kind of what we've been alluding to in a smaller sense, where it's like the rising power challenging the emerging power or the existing power, when we kind of know who plays in those roles, versus the value of money, versus internal conflict, versus international conflict, all happening at the same time, which is dangerous.
Incredibly. And for my traders, how Trump is changing his plan day to day, that's how a lot of you are trading right now. Please know what your targets are going into this market, regardless of what he does. So I've always stressed you need one short target to be able to get cash flow, one long target to help change your life. Second thing I do want to stress, despite how much volatility we have in the market given because of leadership, it's going to be one of the greatest buying opportunities of this decade. I do not want you to forget that point. It felt like this in 2015. It felt like this during Brexit. It felt like the pain was never going to stop. But even in a recession, on average, it lasts 17 to 19 months. For those of you who are locked in, if you can buy and hold long term, in 3 or 4 years, you are going to be elated. And we'll talk about it later. There are some companies that are dominating. Netflix, one of them. Netflix has moved up my respect level a lot. Visa is what most financial services companies should be. There's still quality out here, despite the BS that's going on with his decision making. So
quality. I mean, business is still happening, especially when we kind of leveled it. But you see the amount of money that's being allocated toward AI development, even in the midst of all this, right? It's the reason why they all met with him and they continue to meet with him. Is yes, part of it is his thought is we've been unfairly treated when it comes to tariffs, but the other part of it is onshore manufacturing. And based on a lot of what especially the Max 7, they're making a commitment to make sure that at least some of the manufacturing is onshore.
Is it too late?
For a company like Apple, that's going to be tough. For a company like Nvidia, not too late. Because they've already, if you looked at the manufacturing, I know that, and you kind of alluded to it to start the show, but that 500 billion over the course of 4 years, obviously that makes it 125 billion per year toward data center development. That manufacturing is going to start producing its newer products. So Hopper is still being produced in Taiwan and maybe some of Blackwell, but at this point going forward, and we've seen the rollout till 2027, Blackwell, Rubin, and I forget the name of the 2027 product. Those will, majority of those will probably be manufactured here based on this announcement that they had today.
Yeah. Is the bond market ever going to recover? We got it. Like, we asked what was the peak of America last week. Great feedback. The bond market has been in trouble since 2020.
Yeah, this is a case of of assets over liabilities. And I think when Dalio was speaking, he kind of broke that down. It's right. Somebody's loan is going to be another that debt, right?
Yep.
Somebody has to pay that debt, and we've been relying pretty much on those bonds because people believe that the U.S. will always pay its debts until the debt amount is becoming almost insurmountable. How do you get
Yep.
from under that? Which is kind of the reason that he's looking at ways to say, how do we reduce the deficit? This is why you get a Doge. This is why you get these tariffs. And who knows what else is coming? Is it in shambles? Will it recover? We better hope.
The last time the bond market 10-year treasury was at this level, not to alarm anyone, was 2007.
Right.
And if you have a person in office that may elude his debts sometimes too, then file bankruptcy. It's not an indictment upon him. I'm just going to macro leadership. If they don't get this Doge thing right, and I keep stressing debt to GDP ratio, that's just getting higher and higher every day.
It's at 7%. 7%. They said the goal is to get it down to 3%. Keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that.
Yeah.